Democrat running as a Republican for DA in New York City. Maude, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, John.
Well, in an election year, all of a sudden, Alvin Bragg is now serious about fighting crime. What's going on with that?
Well, he may say he's serious about fighting crime, but we New Yorkers who live here can see the crisis that's in front of our eyes. We have just this week, two court officers were attacked in the courthouse where Alvin Bragg is supposedly fighting crime. We've had people stabbed on the subways. We have just an ongoing reality of crime in the city, which is the result of Alvin Bragg's policies.
Yeah, you mentioned that attack in the courthouse. He called the attack calculated. The suspect is now accused of stabbing multiple police officers and security officials. And Bragg says, and this was his quote, "Crimes like these will not be tolerated." Obviously a much different tone because we've seen so many attacks on police officers on the streets of New York while he's been in office. He didn't say much about that a couple of years ago.
Alvin Bragg hasn't ever really changed his day one memo. He put out a memo on the very first day of office. He didn't need to, but it was his proclamation, and it was entire categories of crime that he was not going to prosecute. It was removing discretion from senior district attorneys, from the assistant district attorneys, so that there were whole categories of crime that they were not allowed to prosecute. That's not what we need from a district attorney. You know, you mentioned George Soros and the criminal justice reforms. Those are really criminal-friendly reforms.
Yeah.
If you were someone who was committing crime in New York City or any major city where there was a progressive prosecutor, you could be guaranteed of less punishment, of less severe prosecution, and less time in jail if you did find yourself in jail if you had a progressive prosecutor at the helm. And Alvin Bragg has stuck to that script to a T for all the years that he's been in office here in New York, and he's made our city less safe.
Maude, why did you decide to change from being a Democrat to a Republican?
Well, the truth is, I'll quote Ronald Reagan, I didn't really leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. I was a Democrat for decades. And, I got to the point in my city where I couldn't say true things. Defund the police is a terrible idea that makes all of us less safe. And in 21, when I was running for city council, and I said, absolutely, 100%, I was against defund the police. I sought the endorsement of the Patrolmen Benevolent Association, the NYPD, the main NYPD union. And I was called all sorts of names. And people thought that it was, you were a white supremacist if you wanted to have a well-funded, well-functioning professional police department. That's nonsense. And most New Yorkers know that. It just doesn't make sense. And, I'll say, John, right now, this abolish ICE movement we're seeing, that's the kissing cousin of defund the police. It's just another part of the same motive to make it easier to break the laws and harder to face consequences. And we need to reject that in all of our cities, including in New York City.
Yeah, I remember specifically they were both attorneys, I think, that firebombed Molotov cocktail a cop car. Both got very light sentences. If they are actually arresting people back in 2020, I think you'd probably see a lot of the same names being arrested this time around. I did also read, Maude, I think that Democrats outnumber Republicans like 7-1 in New York City now. I think a lot of people agree with what you're saying, but the odds are stacked against you.
If you go straight by registration, sure, the odds are against you. But if you go by what the common sense, moderate person on the street wants, there's more than enough of us together to vote out Alvin Bragg. There are communities all over the city, the Hispanic community uptown that is really tired of seeing this violence, Jewish communities that have said that they are absolutely fed up with the lawlessness that we see not just on college campuses, but in the street where we see anti-Semitism on the rise. And the Chinese American community in Manhattan has long been pushing for stricter, better public safety because they are often the recipients of a lot of lawlessness, often the victims of a lot of lawlessness. And I see communities, people across the board, different, it doesn't matter your ethnicity, your race, your religion, you are a New Yorker and you're a Manhattanite and you want public safety. And I hear it from parents. We send our kids to school on the subways. We need our subways to be clean and safe. That's a really low ask to say I want cleanness and safety on my streets and subway. And we haven't gotten it for 3 years in Alvin Bragg, and there's really no reason to think that his little, dance of changing his language in the run-up to an election is actually going to change anything because the best way to know what somebody is going to do in the future is what they've done in the past. And he has been committed to making sure that people face the least amount of consequences possible. And we know what that looks like in New York. It's not the public safety that we need and want.
Well, I think one advantage of you now being a Republican is you don't have to vote in the mayor's primary race, which is like a Sophie's choice, either Andrew Cuomo or this communist Zohran Mamdani. It seems like New York has been going in the wrong direction for like a dozen years. I think a lot of people have got to be just fed up with the situation there, and so hopefully they will vote for you, because certainly New York needs someone who actually is in favor of holding criminals accountable. Maron, great to have you with us today. Keep us posted on the race, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.